I want to welcome everyone to this workshop, the Immigration Right Workshops, with the topic Family-Based Immigration, What You Need to Know. My name is Benga Gunjimi. I'm the founder and executive director of the Nigerian Center. So what I'm going to do is to shortly bring a speaker on, but before we do that, I want to give a brief introduction about Nigerian Center, talk about opportunities to get involved in what we do, and also highlight a few of our upcoming programs. I should also mention that this presentation is being recorded, and if you object to being recorded, you may disconnect at this time. So that said, I want to welcome everyone to this workshop today. Our immigration attorney at the Nigerian Center, Mr. Melvin Jarrett, has graciously made himself available to present this workshop today. And this workshop is going to be looking at the topic family-based immigration, what you need to know. But shortly before we get started, I want to give a little bit of a background about the Nigerian Center. Nigerian Center, it's an immigrant cultural center based in Washington, D.C. That serves the Nigerian American community, but not exclusively. We also serve all immigrant groups that walks through our doors. We have identified a few areas of asset building to foster our mission, and that mission is to foster financial inclusion and social justice opportunities for our community while providing access and connection to the Nigerian culture. To do so, we do programs like immigration. We do this periodic Know Your Rights immigration workshops where we have licensed attorneys and subject matter experts help us navigate United States immigration system. We also have a walk-in immigration clinic in Washington, D.C. We also take some cases virtually as well. So if there's any way we can be of a resource in the area of immigration, please reach out to us. We also have financial program. We have a housing program. We have language programs, Yoruba, Hausa, Igbo, as well as we have homeownership programs at the center. I want to talk about our upcoming programs. We are hosting February 9th a free virtual screening of a brand new documentary called Welcome Home. And this documentary tells the story of three families from Guatemala, Congo, and Nigeria coming to the United States through asylum. And it kind of follow their stories from their home countries to the United States and highlight the work of organizations like the Welcome Center, organizations like Nigerian Center, the work that we do in making people find a new home in the United States and providing them the legal resources to do so. If you have not registered for this program screening, we would recommend that you do so. You can do so at our event page. Not only are we going to be doing the screening, there'll be an opportunity to meet the cast, as well as also organizations representative to talk more about and shine a light on resources available for anyone in any type of immigration need. We are currently accepting applications for our language classes. Right now, we're doing an Igbo beginners class, and that program's about to start in coming weeks. So there's still a small window to be a part of that program. I should highlight this is a paid program of $99. And it's in collaboration with a partner called Express Igbo, whose sole mission is to educate folks how to speak the Igbo language. Next week, we're going to be having a tax workshop for those who are self-employed and small business owners. Those who are W-2 professionals also would benefit from this workshop, but it's going to be primarily geared towards independent contractors and small business owners. The speaker for the workshop is an accredited IRS tax expert, and his business is one of the DMV tax acceptance, IRS acceptance centers in the DMV. So we hope that you will join us in this very, very important workshop in this tax season. So I want to highlight a few opportunities to get involved in what we do. The first, I want to direct your attention to our media page. We do have a collection of previous episodes of our presentations that you can make yourself available to yourself on demand, absolutely for free. For example, when it comes to immigration, we've done entire treatment previously on family-based immigration. We've done humanitarian-based immigration. We've done employment-based immigration. We've also done immigration related to domestic violence and immigration related to access to healthcare. Also, that resource includes credit, access to capital, financial education, home ownership, first-time homebuyer program. It also shows you also have access to our NC Talks cultural series where we talk about current affairs and cultural affairs that pertains to the African diaspora community. So we highly recommend you check out our media page on our website. I should also mention that this particular episode of this training, a workshop, will be made available shortly after the workshop on our media page. We are always accepting volunteer applications. I should mention that Nigerian Center, it's an exclusively led and run volunteer organization, including myself, with the exception of our attorneys. Even our attorneys graciously donate pro bono time to the community. So there are opportunities to get involved. And I also want to highlight that if we can mute yourselves, that would be fantastic. I also want to highlight, thank you. I also want to highlight, hold on one second, I'm getting an echo sound. Okay, I think we took care of that. I also want to highlight that you should please be patient with us. And if you want to proactively send us your cover letter and your resume and specific areas of volunteer interest, that'll be very helpful. So please, you can do so at nigeriancenter.org/serve to volunteer. We do have a Communities Partners Program. Community Partners programs are grassroots organizations and community leaders that have touch points to the immigrant communities. They don't have to be Nigerians as long as they are immigrant communities. We periodically host these listening sessions, and they tell us the pain points of our community, of their communities, and give us insight and resources what to incorporate into our program. They give us suggestions. We also share ideas with them. It's open to everyone, whether you're in the faith-based community, for-profit, media, business, religious, cultural. Please consider to be a part of our community partners. The link to that is nigeriancenter.org/community partners. If you're not following us on social media, there's an opportunity to start doing so today. Please follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The link for some of the pages is Nigerian Center or the Nigerian Center to be able to join us on those platforms. I want to talk about donations. We are always accepting donations at the Nigerian Center. If you're not currently donating to Nigerian Center, we want to invite you to please join our donor community. And you can give as little as you want and as much as you want. I particularly want to appeal to those who want to consider to become a recurring donor. On our website, if you go to our website under nigeriancenter.org/donate, you can click the recurring donor button. I want to spend a little bit of time here. Oftentimes when we see change happen, whether they are systemic, whether they are community change, we sometimes may think our resources will not make a difference. But please, your resource would make a difference at the Nigerian Center. I know that we support several nonprofits, including our families and local churches. We're asking for a little piece of donation to support the work that we do. It's going to make a tremendous difference in our community. As I mentioned, all the team members, we are all volunteers are donating our time and financial resources. We invite you to also be an active contributor with your donations at the Nigerian Center. If you are not donating, if you never donated, consider doing so today. Nigerian Center .org/donate. Also consider becoming a recurring donor for a couple of months. Your support will go a tremendous and long way. Okay, that said, it is my honor to bring to the microphone and to bring to the speaker, our speaker for today, Mr. Melvin Jarrett. He is the immigration attorney at the Nigerian Center. Some of us have already interacted with him, and we are honored that he's going to be speaking to us today about family-based immigration, what you need to know. I'm going to turn it over to you, Melvin.
Thank you, Banga. Thank you for that gracious introduction. And thank you for all the work that you do at the Nigerian Center, supporting all the programs and getting everything set up and running. I very much appreciate it. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. So what is family-based immigration? Family immigration is the primary basis for legal migration or immigration to the United States. Under the current immigration laws, U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, meaning green card holders, can sponsor certain family members for a visa and provide permanent residency, also known as a green card. And this has been the way since the 17th century, and it was enacted in law with the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, making family ties as the main way for people to immigrate to America. Okay, so when we talk about family immigration, family-based immigration, the question comes up: who is eligible? Who is eligible for a family visa? Okay, so there are a couple of categories. First, the immediate relatives, meaning spouses of U.S. citizens, unmarried children under age 21 of U.S. citizens, orphans adopted abroad by U.S. citizens, orphans adopted in the United States by U.S. citizens, and parents of U.S. citizens. Parents of U.S. citizens. And the U.S. to be at least 21 years old. Your family preference categories include unmarried sons and daughters of U.S. citizens, their spouses, and their children. Spouses of minor children and unmarried children of green card holders. Unmarried children, sons and daughters over the age of 21 of green card holders. Married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens and their spouses and minor children, and then brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens and their spouses and minor children. And the U.S. citizen has to be at least the age of 21. And this is one of those things where it's a good idea to consult with an attorney, because when you get down to the brother and sister category, there are certain nuances that you have to be careful of. Number one, they allow stepbrothers and sisters, which is kind of unusual. But the important thing is you have to prove that family relationship. You're going to have to provide marriage certificates and divorce certificates, and your birth certificate showing that you were married at a certain point, that the parents were married at a certain point. So that's one of those little nuances that people never realize, is that not only full brothers and sisters, half brothers and sisters, and step siblings can also be in the preference category. Now, there's one important note to remember, okay? U.S. citizens and green card holders cannot sponsor family members such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, in-laws, cousins for immigration. Maybe that might change in the future, but as for right now, yes, grandparents, aunts, uncles, in-laws, cousins cannot be sponsored by either a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. So the next question is, how long does it take for somebody who's eligible for a visa through this process to get a visa? Well, it could take years, it could take decades. It all depends on the category that you fall under and the relationship with the sponsor, okay? So that takes us to the next question. What are the requirements for a family visa? Okay, so number one, you need a sponsor. Okay, so that's a big deal. The sponsor has to be at least the age of 18. Okay, and in some cases, they have to be the age of 21. Okay, that sponsor has to be able to prove legitimacy. Well, you and that sponsor are going to have to prove legitimacy of the relationship. So those are some of the documentation that you're going to have to provide. You're going to have to provide things like birth certificates. You're going to have to provide things like marriage licenses. You're going to have to provide types of records that show that this is a legitimate relationship. And there's one thing to remember. A lot of people come into our clinics and they say, oh yeah, my mom is going to sponsor me. And after a little bit of conversation, you realize, okay, this may not be a blood relative, you know, so it's not somebody that you call mom. This is an actual blood relative. This is your actual mother, somebody that gave birth to you or somebody that adopted you, okay? And there are a few important procedures that we're going to talk about later on that involve children, but we'll get to that a little bit later, okay? So now your sponsor is also going to have to prove by signing an affidavit of support stating that they will be financially responsible for you, the beneficiary of the application. That requires them to make, I believe it's 125% above the poverty line, the federal poverty line. Okay. Okay, so now for each prospective immigrant, they undergo extensive background checks, security checks, criminal background checks, national security checks, also health-related screenings such as medical examinations. Okay, now the one other important thing that the sponsor is going to have to show by providing that financial record and that affidavit showing that that they will be financially responsible for the beneficiary. They have to show that the beneficiary will not become a public charge, meaning that they will not need public assistance relying on some type of welfare benefit or, you know, some type of state benefit, something like that. Okay. So now, again, like I said, that could take a while, but the people that get the immediate relatives, such as spouses of U.S. citizens, unmarried children under the age of 21, adopted orphans abroad and adopted here in the United States, those people kind of get their visa process. Actually, their visa process can go a little bit faster. It could take probably a year or 2 years, but it won't take the decades or maybe even, yeah, it won't take the decades that the other categories take, okay? So now, so once you've been approved by NCIS, your package is then sent to the National Visa Center, which directs the applicant to maybe send certain other forms, maybe they might send you a request for evidence. And what they're trying to do is to show that you're eligible to enter the country. Okay, so they're going to set up an interview for you. If you're overseas, you're going to have an interview at a U.S. embassy or a U.S. consulate office with a consulate officer, and they're going to. Do we have a question? Okay. Okay, so they're going to set up an interview for you at the consulate office. It's always a good idea to, again, reach out to an attorney and make sure that you're prepared for the interview. Again, some of the things that they're going to ask you about the legitimacy of your relationship to the sponsor. They're going to ask about birth records, you know, a lot of those other things that you have to provide documentation for. So they want to make sure that you're eligible to enter the country. They're also going to ask about vaccination records. one of the things that you're going to have to provide is a medical examination. It's probably a good idea to take that medical examination with you to that interview. And once that is done and you're approved, then you have your visa and you can enter the country. Okay. Now, there are a couple of little nuances that have to do with family immigration that don't directly have to do with family immigration. One of the more important ones that has come up recently is SIJS classifications. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because the African community does not utilize this path as much as they probably can. Okay, I mentioned earlier in one of the first categories that people adopted overseas can be sponsored. People adopted here that are not US citizens can be sponsored. But also abandoned children that are here in the United States can be sponsored by someone here in the United States who is a guardian for them. This is not usually utilized, but is a bit of a complicated process because it involves both the federal system and the state system. So what this law allows you to do is to go into state court, have a child that has been abandoned by one or more family member, gain a path to green card and to citizenship. And the way that is going to happen is the procedure is slightly different in every state. In Washington, D.C., you have to go into family court, the juvenile division of family court, and file a complaint. And you have to show, number one, that the child is under the age of 21. And then the court has to declare that, or you have to show that the child has been abandoned by one or more parent. It does not have to be both parents. In fact, one of the parents can be the guardian, the current guardian of that child. So you're actually going into court to try to have the court declare that this parent is the guardian of the child so that you can get this SI, Special Immigrant Juvenile classification, okay? And then you also have to show that reunification with that parent that abandoned the child is not viable. Abandoned or neglected the child is not viable, okay? Then you have to show, based on the country conditions or the conditions with the family that's still in their home country, that sending this child back to that home country is not in the child's best interest. And you do all of that in family court. And once you have that order from a family court judge, then you can go to USCIS and file I-130, which is the application that you file. Oh, sorry about that. You file an I-360, which is the application that the special immigrant juvenile can file and gain a path to citizenship. Now, how does this, now what does this have to do with family immigration? Well, once that child gets their status, they can now file for that parent that that is their guardian, or that other person that, well, yeah, that parent that is their guardian. And now that parent has a pathway to citizenship. It's an underutilized path by the African community. So we really should look at that more. If you're an abandoned child under the age of 18 or under the age of 21, abandoned by one parent or another, and you hope to become a citizen one day, you should seek out the advice of an attorney and see if this path is viable for you. Okay. Now there's one other thing that I want to point out with this step. Okay. Death of one of those family members is considered abandonment. It's called constructive abandonment. So it's like you have a parent, they passed away, and so now you feel like, okay, I can't say that parent abandoned me. Well, in the eyes of the law, that is considered constructive abandonment, and you can still use that. So if you're here with one parent and one parent in the home country has abandoned you, you can have a path to citizenship. And even if that parent that you're here with is not a citizen or a green card holder, you can still utilize this process to get your citizenship. Okay. Now, there are a few things that I want to point out in this process. We talked about the documentation that you're going to have to provide to USCIS. Okay. You're going to have to provide marriage licenses. You're going to have to provide birth certificates. Anytime you go to see an attorney, it's always a good idea to take those documents with you. If you're here in the United States and you're not a citizen or a green card holder, it's probably a good idea to keep all of those documents together so that when the time comes to file an application, you have everything together, and it's a lot easier to just take it to an attorney and say, okay, here are all of my documents, here are my birth certificates, here are my marriage licenses. If you're doing other things like employment-based immigration, here are my certificates from school, here are my transcripts, here are my divorce certificates. There's another little important note that I want to make about some of the African countries, especially Nigeria, Ghana, places like that. When we talk about divorce certificates, a lot of people come into our clinic and they wonder, hey, my application has been out there for a while and I don't know what's going on. And I always ask them, okay, what country are you coming from? Okay, I'm coming from Nigeria. Okay, have you ever been married? Yes, I'm married, or I was married and I'm now divorced. Okay, Nigeria is having a major problem with processing applications because of fake divorces. So if you're coming from Nigeria and you've had a divorce before, it's probably a good idea to hire an attorney in Nigeria and to verify that that divorce is authentic. Because right now they're finding that a lot of attorneys are coming up with fake divorce decrees, and that's holding up the process. USCIS, the National Visa Center is looking for those cases when it comes to Nigeria, and it is going to hold up your case. So please, if you have been married in Nigeria and you've gotten a divorce in Nigeria, and every country has the same thing, they look for specific things in other countries. Some countries, they're looking at birth certificates a little bit more closely. They're looking at marriage certificates a little bit more closely. If you're coming from a place like Ghana, and you're trying to do something like a fiance visa or even a marriage visa and bring somebody over, they're checking those marriage visas, the evidence that you turn in. If you turn in pictures, make sure that, you have pictures related to the proper ceremony, because they misconstrue based on, let's say, wearing the marriage cloth versus not wearing the marriage cloth. If you have the same outfit on at an engagement ceremony, that could be mistaken as a marriage ceremony because you have on the same cloth. So things like that, you have to be very, very careful of when you're filling out these applications and when you're turning in your evidence, especially with those divorce decrees that are coming out of Nigeria. More than likely, if you've been married in Nigeria and you've gotten a divorce and your application has taken a long time, that probably has something to do with it. Okay. All right. So let's move on from that. Okay. So now another thing that you need to be aware of when you're doing family-based immigration, you're looking at the I-130, and you're going to have numerous forms. If you seek the assistance of an attorney, he's going to have to file an appearance, a notice of appearance for you, which is a G-28. Okay. The I-130 is the primary form that you need to file for family-based immigration. Okay, that's the petition for alien relatives. The fee is generally $535 and it's not waivable. Now, when you file that petition, it's probably also a good idea to file the 485, which is the adjustment of status for the green card, at the same time. It's called concurrent filing, and it's perfectly acceptable. A lot of people will file the I-130, get that approved, and then later on they start filing the other documents that are related. Probably not a good idea. You want to file everything at the same time. I recommend that you file everything at the same time. If you seek the assistance of an attorney, you might want to ask them about that. Do you recommend that I file other documents at the same time? Some of the other documents that go along with the I-130 and the 485 are your travel application, the I-131. Now, what that allows you to do is it allows you to travel while your application is pending. So you can, leave the United States, come back. I think the longest you can be gone is what, 90 days, or I can't remember exactly what that is, but yes, you want to file that concurrently with the I-130. You want to, so that you're not waiting once, let's say, a family member passes away, you need to go home for a funeral. That's not the time to be now trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to file a application, or am I just going to take a chance and leave and then come back? You don't want to do that, okay? Seek the advice of an attorney. My father always said the best time to check for leaks in a roof is not when it's raining. So don't wait till it's raining to start looking for leaks in the roof, because you will definitely know where they are. All right. Another form that you want to file with the I-130 is your petition for your application for a work permit. Okay, the I-765. Again, you don't want to wait until you're here and then you've gotten your status, and now you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I get to work? How can I make money? So you want to hurry up and do that and file that concurrently with the I-130, with the I-485, and then you just wait and for everything to get your application to get your interview date. All right. At this point, what I'm going to do is ask and see if do we have any questions out there. Yes, does anybody have any specific question right now that they have? Again, with some of these forms, make sure that you're familiar with the fee schedule that's on the USCIS website. They have an extensive list. I believe it's about 9 pages or 12 pages long, and it lists every single form that may be filed with USCIS. And it also lists which forms are waivable and which forms are not waivable. It lists all the fees that are associated with those forms. The one fee that's always that's associated with a lot of forms, and it's the same fee, is the $85 biometrics fees, and that's your fingerprint. At some point, you're going to have to do that with most of these forms, is go and take fingerprints and do your biometrics. Okay.
There's a question coming from Wilson Joel. You can go ahead with your question.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for this beautiful session. Even though I came late, I'm so sorry. So, I mean, I tapped my question already, but I think I can say it again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So I'm an O1 visa holder, visa for highly skilled people in their field, in the music and entertainment industry. I was really pondering. I mean, I know and I understand that my wife can't work on this because she's my dependent. But I'm really looking for a way to move from the O1 to the EB1 or EB2 or something that can help us, regularize a bit better so that she can work. Because she actually went to school in Houston. She has a master's from University of Houston in 2019. Am I right? Yes, 2019. She finished in 2019. And then she came back to Nigeria where we got married and everything. And then we did our process last year for the O1 and we were granted. So I'm really honestly in a fix of knowing I really need help. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, so I believe this workshop is for family based, but we can talk about that a little bit. So yeah, if you want to discuss exceptional well, the employment based, the O1, it's probably a good idea to schedule an appointment for a clinic, and let's talk about that separate. I kind of want to keep it on the family based for right now. We
Okay.
can even talk, we can talk after the workshop.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
think do I have your number already?
Do you want me to send it to you personally? I can do that.
Yeah, send it to me personally.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right.
So Melvin, we also wanted to, if you can weigh in on, there are quite a number of folks who came in, who are on the process of asylum in the country. They've already filed application. Say in that process, they become married to a US citizen. Are they eligible to switch to family-based, or what any recommendation for people like that?
Yes, you can switch to family based. You can have two applications going at the same time. It will just depend on exact situation of what's going on. You said that they were married. Give that to me again.
They came in single, filed
Uh-huh.
for asylum when they got to the country. While that process was going on, they were married. They became married to a US citizen.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you can definitely do that. You can switch over.
Okay. Second other question is, what happens in the case of a failed marriage? A couple already petitioned, but for some reason before the immigration make a decision, the marriage no longer, so what happens to that case?
Well, again, immigration is going to want to know how legitimate was this marriage. So you have to be concerned with what is one spouse going to say about the other. So the spouse that's petitioning for the spouse that's being sponsored, what is the other spouse going to say about that spouse? If immigration calls them up and says, hey, you got married to Joe, so we're just calling to find out if the marriage was legitimate. Was this a legitimate marriage? Is Joe a good guy? Did he pay you for this marriage? All of those questions are going to come up because they want to know, and you have to talk to that spouse if you're getting a divorce. What type of divorce do you have? Do you have a messy divorce, or do you have an amicable divorce where that spouse that you're divorcing understands that this can affect your process? And are they going to maybe lie and say, oh yes, and try to damage you? Or are they going to, if it was a legitimate marriage, are they going to tell the truth and say, yes, this is a legitimate marriage? You want to keep as much evidence as you can about the legitimacy of the marriage.
Okay, so it's not
oh no, it's not a loss. No, you can still move forward. Yes.
Okay. So questions regarding those with criminal records. So is it any form of interaction with law enforcement, or is it a particular category of whether it's misdemeanor or felony or criminal charges? At what point did they become ineligible to switch to a permanent residence because of records with law enforcement?
Okay. So any type of record with law enforcement can be bad. The ones that you especially have to be careful of, and I think we discussed that in a previous workshop, are domestic violence convictions and crimes of moral turpitude, meaning crimes having to do with lying on taxes. You have to remember, when you do this process, your sponsor has to provide tax records for the last 3 years, showing that they meet the financial requirement to be a sponsor. So you have to be careful about crimes of moral turpitude. If you ever lied about anything, if you've been in the US and you've been paying taxes, have you lied on those tax records? Have you lied anywhere? Have you gotten a domestic violence conviction? If you've been charged with domestic violence or a violent crime, or a crime of moral turpitude, it's a good idea to go ahead and seek an attorney. See if you can get those charges reduced to a crime that is not a crime of moral turpitude or that's not a crime of domestic violence. Those will help your case. Now, no guarantees, but they will help your case. Okay. Does that answer your question, Becca?
Yes. Someone has another question of how can I book a clinic? I'm currently on an F1 visa and would like to know the chances or the routes for getting a green card for my family relocation.
Okay, so you can just reach out to the Nigerian Center, and we hold our clinics virtually and in person. The in-person clinics are on Thursdays from 12:30 p.m. till 4:30 p.m. And they're on Good Hope Road. I can't remember the exact address. I think it's 123. Banga, you would know that better than me. But
123 Washington, 1231 Good Hope Road, Southeast Washington, DC. And the address on our website at nigeriancenter.org.
Yes.
Please, if you have any questions, you can type your questions or you can unmute yourself to ask your questions. They are wondering if you can speak about the employment-based visa to green card.
Okay. Yeah, I think, is that the same person that was talking about the O visa? No.
No, this is a different person.
Anything dealing with employment-based, we can talk about after the workshop, if that person doesn't mind.
Okay, another question. For such a person, please go to nigeriancenter.org on our immigration page. You can submit an inquiry or you can fill out an intake form if you're not in the Washington, D.C. area. If you are in the Washington, D.C. area, you can just walk into the clinic. There is no appointment required or application required or fees required on Thursdays from 12:30 to 4:30. The address previously stated, and you can also get the address on the website. Next question. I have been denied citizenship after my green card was approved. Is this something that you can help with?
Yes, if you schedule an appointment, we can. Yes, if you schedule an appointment, we can talk about it specifically. I don't want to talk about individual cases here and start getting people's facts out, because that could be a breach of confidentiality. So if you have specific questions about your case, go ahead and schedule an appointment with the clinic. We have a clinic tomorrow, in fact.
So you mentioned the juvenile IGLS. How many, is there a limitation to when the minor has to be in the US to be eligible for that?
They just have to be present in the US at the time. Hold on one second. I'm having that. Okay, yes, they just have to be present here at the time when they file the application.
What time is the clinic again? The question?
12:30 to 4:30 p.m. And I've got a question. I have a question. Somebody, hold on one second, Ben. I'm trying to read something here. Okay, somebody had a family member that just died recently. Okay, so this person is asking, they had a family member that just died recently, and they want to know, they have 3 children, and they want to know if they still have a path to citizenship because the father passed away and had not submitted the applications yet. Okay. That's a tough one. Actually, if a family member passes away that's a U.S. citizen, if a spouse passes away that's a U.S. citizen, you actually have 2 years to file that application for what they call a widow visa. It's still a I-130, and you will still go through all of the same process. You would still, it's a good idea to go ahead and go to the embassy in that country right now. I'm not sure what country this person is from, but it's a good idea to go to the embassy in that country and make sure that the children are registered. If they're not registered, it's okay. You just need to show a birth certificate to show that the father was on the birth certificate, and they can do an application on I-130 and still have a path to citizenship. You have 2 years within which you actually have to file that. Okay, yes, you have 2 years within which you have to file that that application.
So for clarification, so for such a case, because they say that they probably completed the application, have not filed it yet. So are we talking about the same application the deceased person started when they were alive, or can you now self-petition, providing records that the significant other passed away?
Yes. The person that passed away didn't even have to start the application yet. You have 2 years within which you can now petition and file the application yourself. You can include the children. Like I said, if the children weren't registered at the embassy, you can provide the birth records. Okay, this person said they haven't buried the person because they're concerned about one of the children not okay. Yes, like I said, you can just need to provide birth certificate, and if that child is on the birth certificate, that's fine. If you're concerned and not burying the person because you feel like you might need to prove some type of paternity, I would seek an attorney in that country and ask if you actually need to hold up burying that person. But you could probably get a tissue sample, a blood sample, a tissue sample that the coroner can hold, and tests can be run later if they need to. So I don't think that you necessarily need to not bury the person. This seems like it's something that's going on right now. So yes, seek an attorney in that country and get a tissue sample, that the coroner or medical examiner get a tissue sample from the person, from the deceased, and then you can bury them. But you don't have, the application does not need to have been started for you to be able to do it. You have 2 years within which you can do it. Does that answer the question, Benga?
Well, I wasn't the one. I hope that answers.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
I hope that answered the person's question. I was just trying to clarify that for the audience.
It seems like they're in crisis and there's a lot going on, so I'm just trying to dissect a little bit at a time.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions for the attorney? You may chat your questions. We're still having some. Yeah, please unmute yourself, Taiwan.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Melvin.
Hello.
And Mr. Benga and every other person. Please, I just want to know the O visa. Is it a pathway to green card? The O visa and the A visa, are they a pathway to green card?
Well, no, they're not. Those are not a pathway to green card. You would have to switch to another visa to have a pathway to green card. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And Melvin, do we take cases at the clinic regarding employment-based? And those who want to learn more about employment, what can they do?
Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, I want to go back to Mr. Taylor real quick. Okay. I really want to talk to you separately. The O visa is a path to. Okay, yeah, I really want to talk to you separately. One of the main issues with the O visa, and a lot of people try to go this route, as opposed to, let's say, but it does not lead to a green card. It does not lead to a green card. But let's talk about that separately. Let's talk about the O visa separately and your case separately. Okay. Taylor?
He didn't message and say thanks. I say yes.
Okay. Okay. Now the O visa can be renewed if you already have one, but okay, he's gone. Okay. All right.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back, Mr. Melvin.
Okay.
Thank you. So the O is not a pathway. How about the employment base? Is that a pathway? Because
Well, I think the question
I understand there is EB1, EB2, EB3, and the likes.
Yeah, I think what you're probably getting at is probably a question a lot of people ask is what's better, the O visa or the H-1B, or one of the other employment based. But again, that's something that we should talk about separately outside of this workshop, if you don't mind.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any other questions? I want to touch on the financial sponsorship. What happens is the spouse does not meet that financial threshold. Does that put the application in jeopardy, or can you get an additional financial sponsor?
You can actually get a second sponsor. You can get another sponsor if you don't meet the financial. You can get a co-sponsor.
And must you be related to that person?
You don't necessarily need to be related to that person.
Okay.
And sorry, you also mentioned public charge when you were talking about filing for siblings, family members. Like if you're going to file for somebody, you have to show proof that they're not going to be dependent on public charge. But I just want to know, I thought during the last administration, the public charge rule was put to rest and all that. Like for instance, if you're probably even here and you're in the process of adjustment of status, does public charge still affect your filing? Thank you, Mr. Melvin.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I have not seen where the public charge rule has been done away with. It's still applicable pretty much with every application that I know of. There may be some, I would have to look at those cases individually, but the public charge rule is still applicable, yes.
And does that include the stimulus check last year, or is more like food stamp and things like that?
That's an interesting question. I haven't thought about that, the stimulus checks. I actually don't know. I've not thought about that question, whether or not the stimulus check counts as a public charge. I would not think that they would, because you're not applying for it. They're giving you the stimulus check because you qualify. So I don't believe that it would be, but I can look into that more and have an answer later.
Yeah. I also want to think about those who are living in sanctuary cities like DC that has a lot of resources for undocumented. Would that become a barrier to them too? Things like medical insurance, DC Medicaid, things like that.
Would that become a barrier to
such a person when they eventually want to file?
Yeah, like will it be categorized as a public charge if you take Medicaid and all that?
if it's not a public, okay. So there are some things that are considered a public charge. If those benefits are on the list, then it would be a public charge, and it would not be a good idea to be on that benefit. There's a list of benefits, state benefits, that are considered public charge. So we would have to look at each one of those specifically and see. You're asking about Medicaid. Usually, those are considered a public charge benefit. If you're asking about other specific benefits, we would have to take a look at each specifically and see if they're on the list.
I think we got time for one more question. Does the new premium charge of $2,500 for expedite approval affect family-based application?
Let me pull up that. I'm trying to pull up the fee schedule. The best place to get that answer is on that fee schedule that I talked about with the 12 pages. And that has a list of applications that are eligible for that premium service. So give me that question one more time. I'm looking at it right now.
Does the new premium charge of $2,500 for expedite approval affects family-based immigrant application?
As for right now, the $2,500 is for the I-140 and the I-129. And I'm looking at the no, it does not.
Okay. Okay, so I guess that will make the end of this particular presentation. But before we all go, can we all give a virtual round of applause of appreciation to Mr. Melvin for his time with us today? Thank you so much. Please, 1 second for everyone before we go. I want to go through over a few announcements. And I particularly want to talk about our upcoming programs that you should know about. Upcoming programs are as follows. February 9th, we are having a virtual screening of a documentary called Welcome Home. 3 families from Nigeria, Congo, and Guatemala, Asylum Journey to the United States. It's in collaboration with Welcome Center, with Nigerian Center as well. We'll be shining a light on resources available, and you have the opportunity to meet the cast. You can register on our website on the events. If you want to speak Igbo, we are now accepting application for our beginner classes in Igbo, and stay tuned. We're going to be announcing our Yoruba and Hausa classes soon as well. These classes are held virtual at this time. February 2nd, next week, Thursday, we are having a tax workshop for those who are independent contractors, those who are self-employed, and those who are small business owners. This is particularly important for those who might be within immigration status and may not know what their tax obligations are. I think this is very, very important workshop. If you have a W-2, you can still attend this workshop as well. It will be beneficial. Get involved, support what we do. This recording will be made available on our website, on the media, shortly after this presentation. If you want to volunteer to support our work, please go to Nigerian Center /serve, include a cover letter and a resume. If you can state areas of interest, let us know. We appreciate that. If you are a community leader or you're part of an organization that serves community population, immigrant populations, you could be in faith, you could be in business, media, please go to community partners to join. If you're not following us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, please do so at Nigerian Center or The Nigerian Center, including YouTube as well. Donations, if you're not yet donated to the Nigerian Center before, we invite you to do so today. We ask you also to become a recurring donor if that is possible. That said, we want to thank everyone for your time today. We are all released into greatness, and I look forward to seeing you all soon again. Bye for now.